The discussion this evening and the ones you'll have tomorrow are great opportunities for you to reflect on the experience of others and the broad base of evidence about accessible quality after school, and then to adopt those lessons to the local conditions in which you live. The Scottish planner, Patrick Geddes, who advocated highly localized, context-specific approaches to improving urban conditions, put it succinctly when he coined the phrase, "Think globally, act locally." One of the ironies of history is that an early thinker who expanded on this approach was a planner, Peter Palczynski, who worked in the most centrally controlled system in recent past, the Soviet Union. While he believed in central planning, he insisted it had to be modified for local conditions. He saw value in seeking out new ideas and experimenting with new ways of doing things, while keeping risks manageable by doing these experiments on a scale where failure was survivable, and actively seeking feedback so that you learn from your mistakes as you go. His approach came to be viewed as heresy by Stalin, who tragically had Palczynski executed. With the 2020 hindsight of history, we can see that this failure to heed his advice contributed to the collapse of the Soviet system, albeit several decades later. His advice, nevertheless, lives on. I might paraphrase it for the immediate circumstances as, steal every good idea you can from this conference, but remember you're likely to have to adopt it to your local conditions. Now, it's important to acknowledge that even in a democratic system, creating effective partnerships among players from different sectors of society is difficult. As the researcher Francie Ostauer has noted in this publication, available without charge from the Wallace website, collaborations, often promoted by foundations like ourselves, can stumble badly when there are insufficient resources, activities that are not central to the missions of the organizations involved, or tensions resulting from mismatches among partners over priorities, data, culture, and metrics. However, because it's difficult doesn't mean it can't work. The White House Council for Community Solutions recently profiled 12 such efforts across the country that have produced measurable results and counted more than 100 other underway in other communities and another 500 in early stages. And the White House Council has identified some of the core principles, characteristics, and resources of successful collaborations. They're ambitious, aspiring to make a meaningful difference at the scale of an entire community. They understand that doing so will take a long time, and they have the requisite patience and staying power. A diverse set of voices from many sectors are brought to the table as active partners, and they share a commitment to the idea that the facts are friendly, using data to set the agenda and drive improvements over time. To succeed, they need to develop a shared vision of what success will look like and a shared agenda on how to get there. They will need to be well led with effective governance. Partners need to agree to align their resources, programs, and advocacy to achieve more than each one can alone. There has to be a backbone organization of full-time people dedicated to implementing the shared plan. It's too much to ask of a group of volunteers. And perhaps the most obvious point, the sum of the resources dedicated to the task needs to match the requirements of the solution that's developed. In order to thrive, these collaborations also need the right knowledge, tools, technical assistance, policy environment, and funding. In sum, this White House Council found in their study what I said a moment ago. It isn't easy, but experience has shown it can be done. All of you in this room here tonight are here because you're taking many of these steps already. Now, from nearly 30 years of personal experience in these kinds of partnerships in Indiana, I believe the literature correctly emphasizes the importance of starting out right with shared vision, shared metrics, steps to build mutual trust, and the creation of a backbone organization. But what I've learned is that the ability to persist long enough in these efforts to achieve meaningful results depends on building and maintaining relationship capital among the participants. And this involves the continued nurturing of trust. Trust, which has to be earned and re-earned, is only created by being trustworthy. This does not mean you have to be perfect. As humans, we all make mistakes. It does mean that when you do make a mistake, you have to take ownership of it, fix it to the best of your ability, and learn from it so as not to repeat it. If you know from experience that this is what I will do when I slip up, you're much more likely to trust me, even though you know I'm going to screw up. So as the African statue holding up the world suggests, there are few limits to what we can accomplish together if everyone involved in the collaboration trusts that the others will keep the weight well balanced. Thank you and have a terrific conference.